Welcome to the Everyday Bow Hunter. I'm your host, Mike Manley, retired Green Beret turned bow hunter, joined by my brother Dan Zemer, who's mastered the art of hunting from the ground. We're here to share tips, stories, and talk gear, all from our unique points of view. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned bow hunter, I think you're going to like it. So let's go. Hey, this is Mike, and that's Dan, and this is episode 2 of the Everyday Bow Hunter. This week, we're going to talk about season prep and get into a little bit about our bow setups. We're going to talk a little bit about shooting, a little bit about managing target panic, and we're going to get into our arrow and broadhead setups a little bit. First, if you did not see last week's episode, go back and watch it. We talk all about ourselves, our backgrounds, and what we bring to this beginning of this new podcast. So if you're interested in seeing that, go back, give it a listen or give it a watch on YouTube. We're on Spotify and all the other podcast resources out there like Apple and Stitcher, etc. So you don't have to watch this just on YouTube. So I appreciate if you start subscribing and start listening to us each week. But that's really what we got from last week and what we're going to do for this week. What do you got, Dan?
Well, I guess first things first, I'd like to cover some news. Came across the interesting article on Outdoor News, and there's a little bit of research done from Wisconsin-Madison University, and it was a correlation between ticks and CWD. And I guess through some research, they're saying that there is a correlation that if a deer eats a tick, could pass prions along. So I guess they concluded that prions from ticks from 3 CWD positive deer heads had an infectious dose rate of 0.3 to 42.4. So that's pretty wide gap of a possibility there of passing CWD on. But I think, the deer has to feel it on it, bite it off, consume it. And that's what I'm getting out of the article. But you can reference the article on the Outdoor News. It was June 21st when that was posted. So you can go check that out.
And if you're not in a CWD heavy area, it might not matter to you, but we deal with that a lot here in Pennsylvania, and we have it creeping into the areas that we hunt. So it's a subject that really matters to us, and making sure that the deer that we're harvesting are clear of CWD is a big deal, especially, if you're eating that stuff, you want to make sure that there's nothing, there that's going to harm you or anybody in your family or whatever. So it's all something to take into consideration. So that's a big news thing. And you know as well as I do, Dan, how I feel about ticks. I played the reindeer game of going through antibiotics for the potential Lyme disease a couple times over the last couple of years. And I do not want to play the tick game. And it seems like it's supposed to be a bad year for them this year too. So hopefully that doesn't correlate to higher CWD levels in our area as well.
Hey, not to get off topic or extend the topic, whatever, but Dad just sent me things from Amazon. It's little tick things that you could slide up over your ankles, and it keeps them from coming up from that point. I thought that was pretty interesting. Never seen anything like it. It's like a gator,
tick leg gator. Yeah. I saw those. Now, I personally have already gotten, I think you saw some of the gear that I've been testing has the insect shield stuff built into it. So it keeps them off you, so you don't have to spray it with permethrin. But I also have insect shield. There's a company, Insect Shield socks, that help for that very, very same thing, keep them from crawling up into my pant leg or whatever. Yeah. So it's an important deal for us. I don't know how it is for you, but I'm tired of dealing with it, and I don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
So between us and the deer, we don't want to deal with any ticks. So moving on. One of the things we wanted to jump into as far as season prep, I mean, there's a lot of season prep stuff that you can do right now, mapping out spots, getting knee deep into looking at, where you want to start your season off, looking early season patterns, patterning the deer in your area, all that stuff. There's a lot that goes into it, putting trail cameras out, as I was telling you. So all those things, but one of the things that you and I take really seriously is making sure our bows are set up and ready to go, tuned, and we do a lot of preseason stuff with that. What what is your current bow setup that you're using this year, with your sights and everything else that you're looking to run this year?
Oh, I got the Elite Embark, which I guess there was a little trademark issue with that name with John Dudley's bows. I've drawn a blank right now, but so they had to rename it. But anyway, I got one of the Embarks. I probably shouldn't say that, but it's just 60-pound draw max. I have a Trophy Ridge 4-pin sight on it right behind me here. And I mean, arrow wise, I'm shooting the HMRs, the Vector, which Mike, if I'm right, that's not Vector anymore.
That's method archery.
Method Archery.
I thought you were shooting ZMRs.
Oh yeah, I am shooting a CMR. Oh, yeah. I didn't have my glasses on, but no, yeah, you're right. I'm shooting a ZMR. I wrote HMR. Oh shoot, 350 spline. Total grains is 488. It's a 14.4 front of center FOC. It's the four fletching, right vertical, whatever you call that. Help me
Right
out here.
helical.
Helical.
Right helical. Yep.
125 grain broadheads, actually.
Magnus Black Hornets.
Yes, sir. 125 grain. I'm shooting these, which,
The Stinger.
yep,
Shooting the Stinger.
I, I didn't feel confident with them. I'm not going to sit here and lie about it. So I switched to the Black Hornet.
Hey, everybody has different setups and arrows fly different. You put a set of broadheads on there. Sometimes they fly good, sometimes it just takes a lot to get them tuned up. And if you can throw on the the Black Hornet and all of a sudden you're flying good, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit could go in. I'm only shooting 60 pounds. So with all the shoulder issues and stuff I have, the length of that broadhead might have had something to do with that. So, the Black Hornets are shorter and we'll see. We'll go from there.
Yeah. So I'm shooting the same bow I had last year. I have the kind of a mid-range bow, the Bear Alaskan. And reason I went with that bow, one, is because it was cheaper for one, but it also because I'm only 5'8" and I have a short draw length, I'm shooting a 26.5-inch draw. So I'm not maxing out, the speed on a bow. So I go for a bow that has a lot of speed. And the Alaskan has a 335 feet per second IBO. So that's why I went with that bow. If you remember, I previously was using that Hoyt Vector Turbo for the
Yeah.
same reason because that was shooting like a 350. I think it was like 350. It shot as far as the IBO, but of course, when you take the draw length down, that drops your speed dramatically.
Right.
As far as the sight, now I have a little drama story from last year that really didn't talk about, but I was really ticked off. I had an Apex single pin Covert Pro sight on. I think it's a Covert Pro. Single pin sight, and I dropped my bow and I busted the windage knob.
Mm.
And because I busted the windage knob, I could no longer adjust the bow. And because I dropped the bow, I knocked the sight off. So I couldn't zero my bow. So I had to run down to Extreme Archery and got a Trophy Ridge Pursuit sight and like $90, $95. And that's a single pin sight as well, because that's why I shoot, a single pin sight. And I needed to have that was the only thing they had there. It was a single pin sight that wasn't $300.
Yeah.
So I that like the what the heck are the HHAs that are, they had those and stuff. But anyway, I threw that on, and that was if you remember, Allen wrench only adjustments.
Right.
And that's horrible. Trophy Ridge should be sued for this. That is so terrible. I flat out hate that site. If you're looking to get a Pursuit, don't recommend it. Hate it. begrudgingly made it through last year with that. And of course, my last year was terrible for other reasons, but that's another story. But anyway, I got the apex taken care of. Now I have that back on my bow and really like that apex single pin. That really nice setup for me. And I have the quick release quiver on there. I think it's a trophy ridge. What else I have trophy? Oh, I have the drop away rest from what's it called? QAD.
QAD, yeah,
QAD drop away rest. So that's my basic setup. But the reason, I kind of wickered out things the way they are is specifically because of my short draw length. Now,
right,
the arrows, much like you, I did do the HMRs for Method Archery, and they were 605 grains last year. And after seeing the ZMRs that you got, and being that I like to do, a single pin sight, and I don't like to change it when deer are coming in. I just want to shoot that single pin sight,
right.
center mass, and not have to change my yardage. I I changed to the ZMR. Mine are sitting about. I have a 125 grain broadhead as well, and they're sitting just around 450. And the FOC is not really high on this set of arrows. It's only like 14%, but so it's not as high as I want it to be. But I'm gonna try to wicker that stuff out next year. The
Have you slung
H,
some?
oh yeah, they burn. Those
Yeah,
things really burn.
I
And
couldn't
so,
believe the accuracy. Actually, the first 3 shots I took with them, I have it. I could actually show you. I Robin Hooded the damn thing. Oh, and
okay, everyone,
they're
we're waiting for
expensive.
Dan to show off something.
You see it?
Oh,
I hit my fletching there, and I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" I mean, 2 or so shots in, I'm like, I mean, one thing's for sure, I'm sold. They're incredible arrows.
they're beautiful. It's a beautiful arrow. Method Archery it used to be called Vector Custom Shop.
Yeah,
They do they had a trademark issue, so they had to change their name. But they take your personal specs, you go put in your draw length and your bow information, etc., and you can pick some different things that you want and the size, the weight of your broadhead, and they're going to optimize the arrow and build the arrow just for you.
yeah.
So that's fantastic. Now, my personal best, setup for that, we'll get into a little bit later here in the show. But as far as arrows set up and broadheads, but moving on, as far as your setup and stuff, what have you been doing as far as shooting and preparing for the season? What's your methodology for that?
So, I go through a couple processes. First, foremost, just getting out shooting. I know they recommend 100 arrows, what, 5, 6 days a week. I don't have that kind of time. I mean, so I do shoot a lot just to get that, muscle memory, but I do some blank bail shooting. And, the purpose of that for me is like I get like target panic. So blank bail is kind of dialed in. You're not aiming at anything. You're you literally practically just making sure you're going to hit a target, but you're closing your eyes practically and you're going through your muscle memory, your anchor point, your hand. It helps you focus on all those points of reference for you. That way, when it comes time to shoot at an actual target and your aim small, miss small, you don't go through that target panic and worrying about all the movement and all that stuff. It's getting the fundamentals down. It is very helpful. And then because I'm a ground hunter, a big thing I do is probably sounds silly is I sit on my butt and shoot sideways and I'll get on my knees and I'll shoot because you're gonna get in situations where you're gonna be shooting from those weird positions. And I think it's really
Oh yeah,
important to put yourself in awkward positions. I mean, it really pulls on your stomach. If you sit on your butt and put your legs out, your feet out, and sit sideways and draw and shoot, it's pretty tough, but I find it very helpful.
yeah. I mean that helps. You can't just. I mean, you're not going to be standing on a range. I don't care if you're in a tree stand. You're not going to be in perfect position when you shoot. I mean, if you're like me and I'm shooting out of a saddle, I'm in an angle off the platform shooting every single time. So it makes a huge difference by getting that muscle memory built up. I
Yeah.
told this, I said this to one of the guys at work. I said, I spent years in the army, and because I was in a specialized unit, we they wanted to build your muscle memory so that you didn't have to think about what you're doing. You did transition drills from your rifle to your pistol, and we did that thousands of times, thousands and thousands of times. And people don't realize how much I had days where I shot where my finger had muscle failure and I couldn't feel my finger. And so I'd put my other finger in to pull the trigger. It was that weak.
Wow.
That's when you know you shot a lot.
Jesus.
But what that taught me is that muscle memory, as you talked about, is so important and is really important if you do have target panic. And if you're listening to this and you're saying, "What the heck's target panic?" And you say, "Well, it's it's like it's buck fever. It's just getting
Yeah.
really nervous, and
Well,
if you've been out there hunting and a deer's come up and it's a nice buck and you want to shoot it, we all have just sat there and just gotten the shakes and we're like, oh crap, and
like for me, target panic is a lot of when you're holding that wobble, trying to settle myself down to go, which you've all heard me breathe before in the last episode, like Darth Vader. I got to curve that. Breathing is very important. So that's why like black bale is so important for me personally. Look into it. You other hunters, look into it. Talk to other hunters, see what they do. It really does help. There's no dots, nothing on the target. You're not aiming at anything specific. So you're now taking that time to focus again. Your anchor point, you know, where your hand position is, the level, looking at the level, all that stuff, going through that process, it really helps with the muscle memory and consistency.
yeah, I mean that it's there's those 8 fundamentals of shooting that you go through, and a lot of people do if you don't really focus on that part right there, I think the grip, having an open, loose grip helps a lot. It keeps you, but if you're shaking, and you're at bows, that sight's going back and forth, and you got to remember, try to get yourself to where you're taking that deep breath, letting it out. And right when you have that pregnant pause is when you want to release, and that arrow coming out should be a surprise. Now, I dealt with that myself, and I told you before, what I like to do, or what I did, is I switched to the thumb release, which has a reverse grip on it. You're not using your trigger finger like in some of the other releases out there. You're using your thumb instead, and I really like, having that kind of release because I'm pulling tension, and I actually thought about going to a hook release because a hook release is really good for target panic. You don't have It's more of a surprise and you get that tension. You can also do the tension release where you're basically pulling back and it releases when you hit a certain point. So it's that arrow's gone. So you got
Yeah.
to be prepared for that. But just like you said, the number one thing to fight target panic is muscle memory and building it up. I have a quick story for you. I actually just I was listening to a podcast I think it's like 3 or 4 weeks ago now, and it was the owner of a company, clothing, or not clothing company, owner of a tree stand company, and he was sitting there going through all this stuff about. He was saying, "Yeah, I never practice shooting. If it's I know that I'm going to shoot at 20 yards or less. I don't need to go out and practice." And it's only 20 yards. If you have to practice at 20 yards, you got a problem. But but then he went on he went on to say, "Oh, yeah, I wounded 2 deer at, like, 15 yards this year, and I was lucky to recover my 3rd one. Got him, and he went, 150 yards or whatever." I was like, "Dude, you
I don't want to hunt
just
with that guy.
you just outlined every reason why you need to shoot more, and by shooting and building that muscle memory, when you do get in those situations, you're not gonna have that issue. Now, that being said, I don't care who you are, and you know this, Dan, played this game. We know people that don't practice a lot and they wound a lot of deer, and 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 I don't want to do that. I know you don't want to do that. So it's extremely important to practice and stuff. The
Yeah, I
deer
mean,
always has a vote. You know, he's going to move possibly, so you can be the best shot in the world, but that deer might, jump on you. But it's just, you got to do what you can
there's an
to minimize that.
ethicalness behind it. You know what I mean? There's
Oh,
an
it is an ethics
ethicalness,
thing.
and it's like do the right thing, and those animals are, beautiful animals. Why just hurt them? We want to humanely kill them the quickest way possible. Don't want that animal to suffer out of respect for them.
Yeah, and that's why just learning how to manage target packet. Yeah, target
Panic.
panic, and and like you said, the blank fail shooting. It's just that repetition of shooting over and over again to where you're not and doing your mechanics good. You're not just winging it. You're making sure you're going through the entire shot cycle. You're doing all your mechanics right. The only thing you're not worried about is that sight,
Yeah.
and that's why you have something big enough that you could shoot at without having to worry about that.
All right. So the blank veil did the opposite for me. So for you, you went from the wrist trigger release to a thumb release. Now I
Yeah,
was on a thumb release and I went to back to the wrist trigger because with the thumb, what I found myself doing was not pulling through. So like when you pull, you're kind of like finishing your cycle. You know what I mean? But with
your
the
follow through.
trigger,
Yeah,
my follow through, I went back to the basics. You know what I mean? And there's things that everybody is different and you got to know what's right for you. And that going back to the trigger
being
release
comfortable is
was
half the
best. Yeah,
battle.
everything. Because you're not thinking about it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The
Mhm.
less you're thinking about that whole process, the more fluent, better shots you're going to take, the more calm you're going to be, all that.
It's so embedded in me now that, yeah, if I went to a trigger, I'd screw up royally. I have so much muscle memory built up into that thumb trigger now that I could never go back.
Right.
I just I'm so comfortable with it, and I do get that pull through. Get that pressure, and I just literally at the same time my thumb is on that, I kind of pull it at the same time, and that's why to me it's helped me, and that's kind of the technique that I use.
See, it was
Um,
polar opposite for me. I felt like I was going do and then pull. Like I couldn't where a trigger, it was like, you know what I mean? Because you're taught your whole life shooting guns.
hmm.
It felt more familiar. The thumb really screwed me up, and I'm glad that I switched back because there's a lot more consistency there.
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing is whatever works for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, what works for one person is not gonna, work for another.
right.
So that's why there's multiple techniques you can use.
Yeah, I just wanted
Uh,
to explain my part of it in kind of in detail about that separation. Just somebody else out there might be experiencing the same thing and they can relate to it and go, you know what? I think that's actually what I'm doing wrong too. Maybe if I switch back or whatever, whatever helps. It's just that's the point of this is to help people. So
so just kind of go off on a tangent. I just thought about something. So as far as season prep, we're talking about your bows and stuff. What
yeah,
have you what have you bought recently to get ready for the season?
what didn't I buy? All right, so I
Should
got
we stick to
some
the last 2 weeks?
the last 2 weeks, Sika bibs, Stratus bibs. I got tired of the cold air going down my lower back, and bibs will kind of take care of that. I'm more of a Sika guy. I know you get to review a bunch of other stuff. Not that I'm against anything else, but here recently, I've been getting more into the Sika gear. I got the Black Hornet broadheads, and when I'm ready to shoot crossbow, I got some new hypodermics from Rage, Vector or Vortex binoculars, and I just ordered some First Light gloves that are cut off at the finger. It's ridiculous. This is every year at this time, you just start spending. I mean, it's gear. Oh, I got Evercomb, the
Wow,
herd. Yeah.
stocking up.
Yeah, I am. It's that time of the year. I do it now. That way, the more I get into practice season and stuff, I'm not thinking about all that. I can focus on shooting and doing the right thing. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a bow hunter or any hunter, and you get into this time of year, and we're talking, from Memorial Day through Father's Day, some of the best hunting sales there are through the whole year. And I mean, I was looking for, I told you I got the trail camera
Yeah.
from Exodus here, the cell camera, and that was a sale item. I got, what else did I get? Oh, I just got the trophy line Palisade pack. I ran the Case 2.0 pack last year for saddle hunting, and I was looking for something. It has it's a formed backpack. It basically has protection in there. So when I take my camera gear out to film the hunts, I have that protection for the backpack. So I'm really looking forward to that. And my goodness, how many different sets of early season gear have I tested over the last couple weeks? I got a ton. If you haven't been on the blog, get on the site. It's going to be in the show notes too. I've gone and reviewed Forlow, Ozio, Huntworth, and Sika. So there's great early season gear. Every single one of them has their pluses and minuses, but definitely
It's
some outstanding gear.
I'm pumped to get these Stratus bibs out for the temperature to drop a little bit and get in them things, man. They are so nice. I had them always wearing around like sleepy pants. My wife was looking at me like, "Come on,
I
Dad."
can't
I'm
believe
like,
the
"They're so comfortable."
those things are high quality.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people say Sika is not that great, but I'm like, have you actually worn it? It's, some of the
Ye
prices are a little crazy
Yeah,
for sure. Like you get to the Fanatic jackets, like $469, which is crazy.
it
But
is.
the quality of some of this stuff is just fantastic. So,
You
you know,
My only wish is with Sika, I wish it was made in America. I wish they were more like Origins Maine, the Cameron Haynes and Jocko Willing gear that's out. I think Joe Rogan's in on that now too. I really I would love to,
I haven't seen them
have
have
that
too much
ability to
out.
support
They didn't
American
really have
made.
they didn't have a lot of
No, they
stuff.
don't, not yet.
And that's why I was testing Forlow, because Forlow is 100% made in the USA too.
Yeah,
All their stuff,
that's awesome.
everything's made in the USA. So that's why I wanted to test them. And they have some good gear. Just they're just in their infancy too, though. I think one of those Duck Dynasty guys hawking their products.
Mhm.
But that's why I got their insect shield early season stuff to test. It's pretty nice. They have some things that I wish they had done better, but they're definitely on their way. Considering these other competitors, they're outsourcing to China, to Guatemala, Vietnam, and Philippines, whatever, and they're getting this stuff made, really, really cheap. And look at the prices you're still paying.
I That's just it. If those bibs are upwards to $400, if I'm gonna pay that price, I'd rather
359.
it be, you know what I mean? I'd rather it be a 100% made in America, whatever it is what it is. I'm the one that paid for them, and I'm sitting here saying contradicting myself. But, it's just,
If you
you know,
want high quality gear, you want high quality gear. And we only have so many made in the USA options. It's just what
right.
it is, you
Yeah.
know. So anyway, all right. I think the next thing kind of on the list is I have down here bow hunting tools for optimization,
Uh-oh.
things that you use to optimize your setups. Now, excuse me. The we talked about a little bit about the weight of the arrows and draw length and all that kind of stuff. The one thing that I think that if I look back when I was first starting out, one of the things that I really made mistakes with was that, I looked at an arrow, for instance. I went I go to all lengths to make sure my bow setup was really good, and I had that Hoyt that I had. It was really expensive, all the stuff on there, had the HHA sight, everything's decked out. The bow's got, you know, $1,500 worth of stuff into it. The whole thing's like $1,500, and I go out and I buy $69 arrows.
Yeah.
And I and
Make
and
that
I
make sense.
yeah, and I think it was, and I'll give the hunting public guys a prop here. Watching those guys, especially now that they're using that adapt, bow that they came out with through Bear, the Bear Adapt. That's a hunting public bow or sponsored bow or whatever they call it.
Right.
I was at Bass Pro Shops last weekend. I pulled it off the rack, and it's a nice little bow, but it's a ready to hunt bow, has a sight and everything on it already, and 529, right? And all those guys are using it. But what's the thing that they're not going cheap on?
Arrows, broadheads.
Arrows. Arrows and broadheads,
Hmm.
because your bow doesn't kill the deer. Now you need a bow that can do the job. Don't get me wrong, you know,
Yeah.
but and that comes down to knowing how to optimize your setup. And knowing how to optimize your setup is knowing, okay, and this is the thing that I was naive to, Dan, is that every single person's setup and the perfect arrow for every individual is different.
Yeah.
And it starts first and foremost with your draw length. Your draw length is going to dictate a lot because that's the length of your arrow for one, how long the arrow is. And then if you say, oh, and I did it, I went and I got those 605 grain HMR arrows because I let Vector Method Archery do the calculation for me. But in reality, when I start looking at the actual optimization of speed, kinetic energy, and momentum for the penetration factors of the arrow, the optimal arrow weight for me, this includes broadhead and everything, is around 498 grains.
498.
So,
Well, that's not too far off for me. 488 is my total.
so when I look at the setup I have this year at 450, it's a little lower than I necessarily wanted, but it's better than, and we say a heavy arrow is going to punch through. It's going to give you that momentum. It's going to hit the deer hard. But if if you get past the arc on your speed and where the kinetic energy is on the downhill slide, that momentum factor is not going to be there. And that's why I said for my calculation specifically, 498 is the number that gives me on that arc of kinetic energy and momentum. That optimal arc
Yeah.
for me is at 498. As I get up to 605, I'm dropping. I'm dropping
Yeah.
kinetic energy. I'm dropping momentum. And so it's a lesson learned for me, and everyone else out there should understand. And I think, oh my God, when I was that first year that I bought arrows, I was like, I'm getting these 400s. And I thought that was the weight of the arrow. I knew nothing about spine or spine deflection or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I
I think
just read
that's
the
that's a common mistake with people.
I read the back of the box and I was like, okay, draw length, you know, there's my arrow.
Mhm.
And which is dangerous. It can be dangerous because you get an arrow that's not right for your bow and that thing busts. Have you seen those pictures out there at different times? The guys had the arrow broken and through their arm and stuff. That stuff happens if you don't have the right arrow for your bow. And
Yeah, I
I look,
mean,
I was looking at the arrows I have over here on my shelves that I used to shoot when I first got started. Man, I was dumb. It's some terrible
I
arrows, terrible
all the beginners out there,
and
you're
cheap.
gonna go through these growing pains. Till you build up that
I'm losing you,
confidence in
Dan.
your
You're still
shooting,
there.
build up confidence, start killing deer, stuff like that. That's where you really start honing in on the details, the we'll call it the math, of everything. And I was pretty naive to all that too, man. I mean, very naive to that. Just, oh, what's my draw length? Yeah, cut me some arrows. I don't even care what they are. Just, I just want to go shoot.
Yeah, I
It's
relied on a guy in
arrows
the
make a
archery shop.
huge difference.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut
Yeah,
you
we're
off.
pretty fortunate. Yeah, sorry. We're pretty fortunate that we have Extreme Archery 2 miles, 3 miles down the road. That is a great shop. Do paper tuning, all that stuff. Nate in there, him and his staff, they're really great. And I definitely appreciate having a shop like that nearby.
Yeah, I give props to Extreme Archery in York, Pennsylvania. If you haven't been there, go. They have a great indoor range, multiple lanes, different things to shoot at. That is a fantastic place, and those guys are awesome in there.
They'll talk you through everything. You got a question, they know it, and I mean, like I said, getting down to paper tuning, some people don't think that's important, but I wanna see, you know, there's I just wanna know, and if there's a little maybe cam inflection, like imbalance in there that needs gotta right that ship, man. Coulda knocked off your bow throughout the, past season, didn't realize it, to get dialed back in, you know? It's a big part
Yeah,
of it.
it was a couple of years ago, and my arrows were just I don't know what was happening. I was left, 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 left,
I
and,
remember this.
and those guys told me, "Get rid of the whisker biscuit."
Yeah. Drop away, QAD.
Mm, and as soon as I got rid of that whisker biscuit, it makes a difference, and then, I was actually reading some stuff because both of us are shooting 4 fletch setups now,
Right.
right? So,
Yeah.
just to let you guys know, we're shooting 4 fletchings and not 3 veins like is kinda normal. We have 4 feathers on our arrows with this setup, and with that, you cannot shoot a 4 fletching arrow through a whisker biscuit or anything that's even like that. You have to use a
Well,
drop
think
away
about all the
rest.
drag. Think about all the
Yeah,
drag that's gonna be on that. No.
yeah. You can't do it, so you really need to do that. Now, and I didn't talk about this, but and we talked about the right helical setup with those as well. Excuse me. So, I am testing out 2 different broadheads, and I'm still not 100% on what I'm gonna shoot this season, but I'm probably gonna shoot the iron will single bevel broadheads that I got. And one of the important things is that when you're shooting a single bevel broadhead is that so that broadhead, you can have a right bevel or a left bevel on those broadheads. So if you're right helical, you need to be a right bevel because that arrow is going to spin to the right, right? So that arrow is naturally spinning. You don't want it to fight against itself by having a left helical or a left bevel against right. You get the point.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to have right with right, left with left. And I've only shot them once, but when I shot them, they really flew like darts and hit hard. And my biggest issue with practicing with them isn't that I don't like doing it or they didn't shoot well, is that man, getting them out of the dang target was a it's terrible. You know, I had a heck of a time getting them out of the target. So I'm gonna
They
have
have a
to,
lifetime warranty, right?
yeah, if they have a lifetime warranty. You should be
Yeah.
able to use them over and over again, resharpen them.
Just sharpen
And
them.
of course, I have the Magnus Black Hornets just like you do, but you got
Well, yours
the
aren't
silver.
serrated. Mine are.
No, I don't have the serrated
Right.
ones, but those things are awesome. What else? I had the tail tail of the arrow. Is that what it is? I think that's what
I
the
did.
company's called.
Flight
Tail
of
of the
the
arrow, or
tail,
tail,
something like that. Yeah.
something like is the name of the company. They have a great broadhead too that I was had on my
Tooth of
arrows.
the arrow.
Tooth of the arrow. That's what
Sorry.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they have a good broadhead too. They really fly like field points. When I shot those, they really fly like field points. So that's a good broadhead to try as well, but I'm gonna go with the single bevel, probably iron wills. They are a little bit pricey. It was 90 some dollars for 3, but
So,
it's
do you wanna talk about why you went fixed head? And I know why I am this year, because
yes.
I had my buck last year, kill a nice 8 point, and that thing hit the rib cage and it was the rage, 2-inch cut, but it's the ones that had the blade tip instead of the hypodermics where it's a solid. But anyway, it deflected, went back, got into the liver, up through the guts and hit it, went all the way up into its spine, and I don't want that deflection anymore. I just wanna right through, you know?
Well, I've used fixed blades for,
Yeah.
a lot of years, and the reason why is multiple reasons. 1, I don't wanna deal with the failure of a mechanical, and especially if you're shooting through we I don't know, there's an area we hunt that doesn't have some kind of twig
Yeah.
or thick brush or whatever. So if you wanna shoot through that stuff and you need to punch through it, you need to have a fixed blade broadhead. But or actually, like you just said, the number one reason is when it hits that deer, especially if you're shooting one of those broadheads and you double lung, you're good. It's any broadhead on the market. You
Yeah,
double lung, you have a perfect broadside shot. Any broadhead on the market, heck, you could probably kill them with a field tip because the Indians were using crap like that back in the day,
straight
right?
through the heart. Yeah.
Yes. But anyway, so if you end up having a deer at an angle, you have a quartering away shot or anything like that, there are chances where those mechanicals only deploy partially, or even if
Yeah.
they fully deploy, you're not getting the full effect of that broadhead until it's well into the deer, right?
Right.
And then you're dealing with that, and it could deflect.
Yeah.
Did it punch through the bone? The big thing is for us, you hit the chisel tips and everything. You want to be able to punch through bone. If you hit a rib, if you hit the shoulder, you want to be able to get through the shoulder. And that's why with the fixed blades, I actually use those toxic broadheads and they just drilled right through the deer, you know,
Dude, you
and
messed that one buck up so bad with that.
oh,
Oh my god.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but that deer went like 20 yards and blew a shower of blood everywhere and dropped.
Yeah. Dude,
But
I
I
just
mean,
wanna
that's,
apologize if
so
everybody could hear my stomach growling. I had some pretty questionable pizza earlier.
if it's not your breathing, it's a pizza now. So
Well,
that's okay. I was
get
shooting
used to
videos
it, everybody.
yesterday. I was shooting videos yesterday and I was doing the review on that trail camera and I had the microphone down here and my stomach was going,
Yes.
I was like, that has to be all in that microphone. I'm gonna have to edit this all out. But that's just what it is when doing something like this off the cuff, you're gonna deal with it. But
Yeah.
back to the broadheads. So that's why I only use fixed blade broadheads. I'm not gonna deal with things not deploying correctly. I mean, it used to be where there's rubber bands you're putting on them. I don't think you really have to deal with that stuff anymore. But the I'd much rather use, if I use anything, it might be a Trocar, a hybrid, from Muzzy there. But where's that G5?
No, Muzzy, Trocar.
Trocar, yeah,
Yeah.
Muzzy. And but the single bevel broadheads, they're gonna hit, or the Magnus Black Hornets like we're using, they're gonna hit that bone, they're gonna bust through it, and they're gonna give you a much higher chance of one, an ethical kill, and two, recovering your deer a lot closer than what you would otherwise, and not having to do some major 7-bolt tracking event, you know.
Oh. I mean, there is one thing that's said to be said, sorry, about mechanicals is the blood trail is massive. Where fixed, you're not gonna get, it could be 20 yards till you start seeing blood, which could be, pretty tough on you when it comes to tracking. But with the mechanicals, my God, the blood. I mean, I killed a doe a couple years ago. You could hear it squirting out of her. Like it, oh, there, oh, she's dead. Like it was gnarly. I mean, it came out like a trumpet, like spraying up against trees and
Well, you remember that deer I got that was a Trocar a couple years ago, 2 years ago. I
oh, the
shot with the
one that
Trocar.
I was looking for the blood trail, and you said, "Damn, look at the trees beside you." And
Yeah, the blood was all over the trees. It was
yeah,
coming out both sides of the deer. So, like I said, the number one reason for a fixed blade for me is peace of mind
yeah,
and
less that
reliability.
can go wrong.
Yes, less it can go wrong. I mean, that's the whole purpose of everything I do is trying to minimize that, whether it's scent control, camo, or arrows and broadheads and stuff. So it's try to
Yeah,
apply that methodology to everything consistently.
I
So,
mean, just
um,
just a thought, real quick. Archery's hard enough. The more that you can simplify what you're doing, take human error out of it, you know, the better off you're going to be. I mean, it's going to take a while for like the beginners to figure all that out, but it's going to take a couple of years of hunting to kind of wrap your head around. Oh, okay, that makes sense. One of them deals.
yeah, I mean, when you're starting out, you're not worried about, okay, what's the speed of my arrow? What's the weight of my arrow?
Right.
What's all the kinetic energy? Who
Yeah.
cares? I bought these arrows. They say bloodline on them, and the guy at the archery shop told me they're really good.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, and it killed a deer. Why do I have to worry
Yeah.
about it? You know, I'm killing deer and I don't have to worry about it. But as you refine your processes and you want to get better, you want to have less issues, you want to have less of the minimize those times when you're out there and you don't recover a deer because everybody's been if you hunt bow hunting enough, you're going to have those situations where you search and search and search and you can't find the deer and it's heartbreaking. And
Mhm.
so all this stuff
It's the
that we
worst.
do, all the stuff that we do is geared towards trying to be as ethical a hunter as we can be for the
And
most
the
part.
biggest thing is having that community. Archery hunting is a community. Having everybody up at camp or wherever you're hunting, having people go out and help you track, help you drag, help you go through all that. If you're around good guys, that's priceless to have is that community.
I think that's my favorite part,
Yeah,
going out and tracking.
absolutely. Yeah. Getting back to camp, I got like you walking around a corner with your arrow, blood all over it, and you just that grin on your face, and I love it. And right there, it's on, and you're like, "Here we go. Get the headlamps out." It's special. It's so special. I love it. And out there,
I
and then
came back,
when you
I
find
put
that
it up.
deer and
I say, "Hey guys, I'm gonna need some help."
yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the best times right there.
Yeah,
So it's yeah, it is one of those things. But if you are curious and you do want to get started with this stuff and learning a little bit more about your perfect setup, I have all this site on the website, the archery calculators that you need to figure stuff out. In fact, Dan, I was just looking at it, and over the last 2 to 3 weeks, just call it 2 to 3 weeks, the number one page on my site for traffic above all else, probably, I don't know, at least 40 to 50 clicks above anything else has been my arrow weight calculator.
mhm.
And it just shocks me that it shows you how many people are really getting into optimizing their arrows and looking to
Dialing in,
see
baby.
dialing things in. Yeah, and it's so it can be fun too. You could because archery for us is year round. We're
Yeah,
year round people with it, and if you're into it enough, you'll instead of wait until September to start getting ready, get ready now and
yeah.
have fun with it.
Hey, speaking of getting ready, for the listeners out there, we're here in Pennsylvania. Tomorrow is a really big day for us.
What do you
8
think it
a.m.
is?
hunting license go on sale. First round doe tags. Man, I'm pumped. It means it's happening. It makes it so real. And it's like, oh man, I can't wait. 8 a.m. I'm gonna be dialed
And for
in.
Pennsylvania, we've had this archaic system for years and years where we had to take these pink envelopes. You had to fill in everything perfect. You had to put your check in the envelope.
If you
You had to
screwed up
put
one
your
thing, you got put in the dead letter file and
yeah, and you
oh,
wouldn't get your doe license. Now, this year for the first time, they're doing it online. So I'm betting that website's going to crash
oh,
tomorrow.
it's that server ain't gonna be able to handle it. Everybody's gonna be, you know.
8 o'clock, it's going down. It's
Oh,
going
yeah.
down. So
But
should
no,
be
it's
should be
exciting,
interesting.
man. It's exciting. It's a new year, new promises, or whatever you want to say. But you get them new tags in your pocket, that new license, and it just, you know what I mean? It's like, oh man, it's like smelling fresh money. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, you ready to put a bow on it?
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Go ahead and do your thing.
Okay. Hey, everyone, next week for next pod, we're doing these every 2 weeks to start. Once we get things rolling and figure all this technology stuff out, we might kick it into, once a week, get more content out to you. But next pod, we're going to continue the theme of early season preparation and talking through some stuff with your scouting and things you can do to start getting ready for the season. But that's it. Episode 2's in the books. For me, Mike Manley, my brother Dan, here, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, or if you're on Spotify or anything like that, follow us and stay tuned in. We got a lot more coming. And
Hey, thanks
we'll s-
everybody for listening, man. We really appreciate the ones that have dialed in and listened, logged on and listened. Thank you so much.
and we'll see you next time.
Bye.